Hello and welcome to the Garden Railway, and in the next few programmes we'll be having a look at ways that you can turn your garden railway from something ordinary into something quite extraordinary. In the last programme we had a look at making models, but there was one whole avenue of model making that we didn't explore. For instance, this is our station area. Notice something missing? Why is it we human beings like miniaturisation so much? You know what I mean, those sort of people that write the Bible on a grain of rice and what have you. Me, personally, I like a miniature bottle of whiskey from time to time, and some people like miniature poodles, and other people like miniature buildings. And these people here have gone for it in a rather big way. It's not real, you know. Well, no, it is real. It's a real carriage. It's just not really... it doesn't matter. I thought it was funny at the time. Back in 1910, Roland Callaghan started making model buildings in his back garden, way of a hobby really. Then a few years later, James Shilcock came along and added a railway. And this combination grew, and it grew, and it grew, until we've got what we've got today. It's Beck and Scott Model Village. This is it. This is all here. You know what, I can already hear the voices of those purists in my head. Mark, this isn't a garden railway, this is a commercial enterprise. Well, yes, I know, but at one time it was in the back garden of someone's house, wasn't it? And it is the source of inspiration for many a modeller of the garden variety. Now, we're going to go and look around this particular garden later on in the programme, but for now, I'm going to learn how to make a building in the company of Valerie Pratt, who's in one of the original workshops here. Val, you're a professional model maker. Oh. Hi. First question. What's that?
That's a single pot chimney.
Oh, right. And this is a rubber mould.
Rubber mould for it,
All
yeah.
right. I think it looks like a nose.
Well, you would say that, Mark.
It's all in your mind. Anyway, right, OK. So that's a beautiful church that you're working on at the moment.
This is yours.
Oh, really? Is that going on my railway?
It is.
Ah, fantastic. And you're just finishing the roof off there a bit?
Just finishing off, yeah.
How do we get to that stage? What's the first thing that you do?
First thing, drive around and find some churches I like.
As inspiration?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And then I photograph them.
Yeah.
Then I take the elements that I like best and end up with a church.
Okay.
Do the drawings, scale it,
yeah.
And then I make plasticine originals.
And this, looking at it, is the two walls of the tower over there?
It is, yeah.
And this is made out of plasticine, which you've carved out. What would you use to do that? Oh,
anything really that works, but that's a typical modelling tool.
A sort of, that you'd use that in pottery, wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely. Clay modelling. Yeah. Any craft shop will sell those sort of things.
And it'd be a matter of doing something like this, would it?
That's right.
You've given this texture as well, haven't you?
Yes, well that's a bit of a cheat. I use a pot scourer.
Yeah.
And then press that into the surface, and it gives me a nice rough texture, now, particularly for stone. Unfortunately, while we were setting up this scene, our cameraman very helpfully just ruined this bit of plasticine here. Does it matter? No, that's not a problem, because I've made... That's only the original. Ah, right. So and I've now got a rubber mould for it. Right, you're lucky, Damien. Right, there's a rubber mould. Now, it's got a nice texture to it, a nice feel to it, and it's got a absolutely wonderful smell. I could get into modelling just for that smell. It's the resin, isn't it? It is, yeah. So you've poured that onto there. You've let it set. Where would I get something like this? Really, this is commercial grade. Right. But you can buy simple latex from some craft shops. How long would that take to set then? Really, to set off properly, that takes about 24 hours. So I peel my mould off. I've finished with my plasticine. What do I do with this now then? Well, then you must make sure that that cures for a couple of days, 3 or 4 days. Yeah. And then when you're ready to mould, to actually make a casting from it, then you get your ready-filled resin. Well, now you're going to let me have a go at that, aren't you? Oh, well, but let's create our mould first. Can I take this out? You can. This is a bit of see how that's come out there, and that is
a buttress, isn't it?
It is exactly the same.
And just to prove a point here, let's see what we've got in here.
It's going to be hard going. I'll pull.
Yeah, go on.
And you peel.
Oh, yeah.
Voila.
Oh, right. Nice chimney. That's not for this church, is it?
No, that'll actually go on your line side hut.
All right. Lovely. Now, first of all, let me get an empty tin. Now, what is this that I'm going to pour in first of all?
That's polyester resin.
Okay, well, let me...
And you're going to pour about ½ an inch, but it should actually be weighed. Because the ratio of catalyst to resin is fairly critical.
Yeah, okay. How about that? That looks all right to me. And the catalyst... What is the catalyst?
It's actually what activates the resin. So you need about 10 drops, Mark, in there.
Oh. Yeah.
And then mix it very thoroughly.
Oh yeah, okay, hang on. And I'm mixing away. And is that thoroughly enough for you?
Try not to get too many bubbles. You're not beating eggs, you know, or whipping cream.
All right.
Try and stir.
All right, sorry. Blimey. Right, now, let's go for this mould, shall we? So it's then get your mould, pour in, like that, all the way?
About half full it.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, and then you have to squeeze it.
Oh, do you really? Yeah.
To make sure you get any air bubbles.
Yeah.
Otherwise your chimney pot's going to have great big holes in it.
Okay.
Okay, and then you fill it up to the top.
I seem to be enjoying that there, Val. There we go. How's that?
And make sure it's level.
Yeah.
And then we usually put that in a cardboard support.
Okay, well let's bung that over there and that can gently set while we move on to the next process, which is...
And that goes through quite a few stages in setting, and one of them, it will get quite hot.
Really?
Yeah. And after about an hour, while it's still warm but not hot, you can then remove it from the mould.
Okay. And do what with it?
I find it's much, much easier to paint your kits, pieces, before you build it.
Oh, okay. Can I have a go at painting?
Sure.
All right.
What do you fancy?
Well, shall I have a go at
this? At the spire?
Yeah, this is for my church, so right, let's get cracking.
Ordinary enamel paints, again, any craft shop, model shop.
This is what I'd use for my old model aeroplanes when I was a kid, wasn't it?
That's actually a gunmetal, that's a metallic enamel.
Yeah, okay.
But don't use it neat, please, Mark. Oh. Put a nice big dollop on there.
Okay.
And then mix it with a bit of thinner.
What do I do? Just mix it up here?
Yes, until it's moving well, and then that's fine.
Look at that.
Not too thin, otherwise it'll go on too thin, but...
Okay. And this is my spire, which I'm just about to muck up. So
no, you can't do any harm at all.
So is it all going to be this colour?
The whole spire, yes. Yeah. And then it's going to have a gold cross on the top.
This is going to look good in the old garden.
And when that's dry, you actually can buff it. So you buff it with a soft cloth. You just polish it when it's dry. Just polish it with a soft cloth, and it'll come up slightly metallic with a metallic sheen to it.
And once I've done that, it's just a case of sticking it on there, is it?
No, not really, because you need to paint all your pieces, preferably flat, and that way you can make sure they all match.
Yeah.
And then you need to put your windows in.
Oh yeah, because you've got nice stained glass windows here, haven't you? How do you achieve that?
Well, they're pre-printed on acetate.
Yeah.
And all you do is you colour them in with colour pencils.
Yeah.
And then stick them over the window.
So how do you stick it all together?
Well, with a 2-part epoxy resin glue.
Now, that's it, finished, isn't it? But can I leave that outside now?
You absolutely can, yes, all weathers.
And that'll weather quite nicely.
Yes.
Just reassure me, because this is something Sophie and I are both worried about. There are no bells installed in this church, are there?
No, not at the moment.
I hate that early morning Sunday thing. And here it is, the church, as made for us by Valerie Pratt, and very nice it looks too. My only problem now is where to place it on the railway. I'm tempted to go to the top of the hill here, as indeed they used to do in real life. Nearer to God, you see. Yep, let's try it here. Oh! Not bad. So that goes there, and then that just slips. Yes. Well, obviously a little bit of work there. Now, hello, welcome back. In the first half of the programme, we saw Valerie Pratt making her very nice miniature buildings. And enthused by my success of the Trestle Bridge, I thought I'd have a go at making a building myself. I've got plenty of wood left over from that bridge project, so I thought I'd make a little warehouse to go down on the harbour wall. This is it. This is the basic frame that I've started doing. Now, it's completely freelance. I haven't really given it much thought, so for you and I both, it's going to be a voyage of discovery. Now, remember from the first part of the programme when I met Valerie down at Beaconscott, whilst we were there, I was very privileged to be given a guided tour of the signal box that they have there on their Gauge 1 system. It's brilliant. Now then. Cast your mind back, if you will, to the programme we did with Lionel Pike, actually, about train control, and we had that wonderful miniature lever frame. Well, I thought that was it, but no, we've gone one better. This is John, who's one of the electrical and mechanical engineers here at the Model Village. This is fantastic. Where's this from then?
Well, this came originally from London Underground. It was originally a pneumatic system. It wasn't actually operated by hand. This was a mimic board. Right. In effect, so this would all operate without any human action.
All right, okay.
So it would be a repeater, I believe, from a further signal box.
Well, that all sounds incredibly technical to me.
It's a nice piece of show.
Yeah. So it's not actually working here.
No.
Do you know, I used to work on the Underground. I was a driver on the Northern Line. Can you believe that? Look what I'm doing now. If I'd stuck at it, could probably be an inspector or something. So. Pint, anyone? We've got a working bit of this, haven't we, over at that end of the box?
That's correct.
What's that noise, by the way?
That's another train passing under the box.
Oh, right, so that actually goes through the box there, doesn't it?
Through under the floor.
So that lever frame came from the London Underground. Where did this one come from?
This was mainline from Purley. The original lever frame was twice the length of this.
Yeah.
And cut down for our purposes. So it was trimmed down, top put on, and these new plates put on.
Oh, right. So nothing at Purley anymore?
No, that's right.
No wonder there's all those delays. So try and imagine that I'm an idiot and explain this to me.
Right. On the control panel up there, the circuit diagram is purely schematic. Doesn't bear a lot of resemblance to the actual railway.
Right.
But the red lights will indicate train in position or train leaving into the circuit.
Okay, so this red light has just come on here.
That's it.
At Beaconscott Town. So this train here has just entered that platform.
That's right.
And it's travelling that way.
That's correct.
And so at the moment the computer is controlling everything.
Exactly.
How does the computer know what train is what?
All the trains have a barcode under the coaches.
Yeah.
And that then represents each number on here is a separate train.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about this railway. It's just looking at it, is that Gauge 1?
Gauge 1, 10mm to the foot, 45mm scale, track gauge.
It's powered, presumably these are all electric powered, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. They all pick up through the 2-rail, 30-volt control, and you have all the coaches are power fed through the wheels, from one coach to the other to the engine, and
that ensures a good pickup.
We get complete continuity through.
Now,
no failures.
One of the dangers I've learnt during the course of this series is that powering through the track means you have to keep the track clean.
Yes, we do.
How do you go about doing that?
We have towable track cleaners with rotary pads.
That'll be this thing then.
Be that beastie.
Yeah.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
Motor driven.
Yeah.
Power pickup from a trailing van, trailing truck or coach.
Yeah.
Then it's just towed, that rotates with like a scouring pad.
Yeah.
And
that's towed along, that spins around.
That's right.
And that cleans the track. And it's deliberately heavy to keep this pressed down on the track. Now, one curious thing I have noticed about this railway, it's not in the same scale as the buildings, is it?
No, the buildings came first in 1929, shall we say.
Yeah.
And so they were at a random scale. The railways then come down to a 10mm to the foot scale.
Yeah.
Then the ancillary buildings have got bigger, mainly for visual contact, so that the public, the children, whatever, can see them better. They get a better idea of what they are.
Right.
Otherwise, they'd be too small against the railway.
Are you a railway man?
Yes, I'm a bit of a railway buff.
Oh right. Have you got a garden railway of your own?
I've got a garden railway, live steam,
Yeah.
battery, gauge 1 in the garden. And
do you work here full time?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you get paid to work
I
here?
get paid for it.
What a dream job.
That's right.
Fantastic. Now, can I have a go at this?
Yeah, I should think so.
Okay.
If I switch the computer off,
Yeah.
and we'll get the board comes up as active.
Yeah.
No,
Is this
sorry,
me?
Wrong one.
Yeah.
That's it.
I feel as though I'm a bit of the bridge of the,
That's it.
Starship Enterprise.
That's right. If you left everything alone,
Yeah.
all the trains would come to a standstill.
Yeah.
So what we'll look for is we'll give you a starter. We can bring this train, number 4,
Yeah.
come through there. We'll send that off down the loop.
Oh, all right.
So what we do is we pull point lever.
Point lever
Which will
first.
take, yes. Okay, and signal 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that then will turn that to green.
Yeah. Good.
And
yeah.
this will then go off down the loop.
Oh right. Lovely.
So
all the other ones have now ground
that's
to
it.
a halt.
Now, once this is on free,
Yeah.
and the signal's clear, when it passes over the train, this will then go out, this will then go across to stop. Then you can put that back to set.
Right. So can I do that now?
You can indeed. Put the
And
signal back first, and then the point. There we go, and you've sent one on its way.
Marvellous, wasn't it? Unlike the shambles that is my warehouse. Well, actually, maybe I'm doing myself a disservice. You know, it's the first time at this sort of thing, and, well, maybe it's not too bad. I've done the frame, and just working on the sides of the warehouse now, and what I'm intending to use is this stuff, purchased at a local art shop. It's a reinforced plastic sheet, and I don't know if the camera can pick that up. You can see the ribbon going through it there. This gives it quite a strong rigidity, which is something I'm always in favour of. Very easy to cut and shape. I can show you that quite simply now with my scalpel. You know, it's a question of doing that to shape, all right? So I've been working my way around the building, and I've got to one side here, and this is it. These windows, by the way, well, I sourced those from a car boot sale. They were £1. It was a doll's house, and I've just simply taken them out of that, cut the holes out for them, and they just stick in here. Now, I was a little bit worried about sticking plastic to plastic and plastic to wood, but I have found something here that works very well. It's a well-known brand of epoxy resin. You know the stuff, mix it together, it sets in seconds, and that, on my little test piece, has set very well indeed. That, by the way, is going to be the end of the roof, like so. Okay, now, black doesn't really suit my purposes. This is a railway teetering on the edge. Hasn't really got very much money, so I want this warehouse to look like a rusting hulk. How to do that? I haven't figured out yet, but I will while you watch this.
My name is Noel Starr. This railway is called the Lungattock, Gilwan and Bryn Mawr because the locomotives all say LGB on the side. It's based on Welsh narrow gauge practice. The railway is 50 metres long, simple out and return. I intend to have a return loop at each end. I always fancied a garden railway from being a little boy. With this one, I've concentrated on stock and tried to make line-side features as cheap as possible, raiding neighbours' skips and going to jumble sales. The railway comes from England through the Sugarloaf Tunnel. There's a passing loop here at Llangryni. You can see that how the ivy and the grass has grown over the winter. To get that running again, I shall have to snip it and clear the green off it and rub it down with an emery board. Tunnels made out of paving stone and curbstones with some pieces of wood on top. When it's covered with ivy, it looks like a hill. This is the main intermediate station called Gilwan. Again, the station platform is made out of floor tiles. The station shelter As you can see, again, is a few more tiles and some slate. My water tower is an ionizer, which was redundant from the kitchen. And the signal box at the end is a bird box, which a neighbour didn't want because the colours were too bright. The level crossing here is made from pieces of Dexian and scrap wood. We go up the hill to Black Rock with its quarry. Station made out of the same sort of materials. And quarry hopper for filling trucks with small stones or corks or whatever is needed. Finally, the railway terminates at this bridge made out of Dexian. It will continue into a run-round loop through the hill there. If you haven't got much money and you want line-side buildings, look around you. For example, this line-side hut started life as a paper holder.
Now, earlier on in the programme, we saw Valerie Pratt making her wonderful model buildings, and here's a couple more of them in the station area, and very resplendent they look too. Now, there are a few more buildings still to be added to the scenario, but these ones here I think are looking pretty nice. By the way, this station canopy edge effect, little tip for you, these are created by cutting the card with crimping scissors. And this particular chimney pot, if you remember, is the one that I cast. I haven't fixed them in permanently because I've got a lot more walking around the tracks to do. There is one building, however, that looks as though I might have accidentally trod on it already, and that's my warehouse over there. Well, it's supposed to look like a ramshackled shed, and that ageing effect has been created by a bit of car primer paint and some cement rubbed into it. I don't think it looks too bad, actually, especially when viewed from a long, long way away. See you next time on the Garden Railway. Bye.